So this is an article on Natural News website, and it's written by Dr. Gregory D'Amato, and it's basically a summarization of what is the Codex Alimentarius, and they've called it population control under the guise of consumer protection. So this whole article and all what the Codex is about, it's about the vitamins and minerals we are meant to receive inside our food content. And I'm not gonna read all of the article because it's a bit long. But what is the Codex? So the history of Codex began in 1893 when the Austria-Hungarian Empire decided it needed a specific set of guidelines by which the courts could rule on cases dealing with food. This regulatory set of mandates became known as Codex Alimentarius and was effectively implemented until the fall of the empire in 1918. The UN met in 1962 and decided that the Codex should be re-implemented worldwide in order to protect health of the consumers. 2/3 of funding for Codex emanates from the FAO, while the other third comes from the WHO. In 2002, the FAO and the WHO had serious concerns about the direction of Codex and hired an external consultant to determine its performance since 1962 and to designate which direction to take the trade organization. The consultant concluded that Codex should be immediately scrapped and eliminated. It was at this time that the big industry realized the full monetary potential of this organization and exerted its powerful influence. The updated outcome was a toned-down report asking Codex to address 20 various concerns within the organization. Since 2002, the Codex Alimentarius Commission has covertly surrendered its role as an international public health and consumer protection organization. Under the helm of big industry, the sole surreptitious purpose of the new Codex is to increase profits for the global corporate juggernauts while controlling the world through food. The implicit understanding of their philosophy is that if you can control food, you control the world. Shall I read that bit? Just talking about all the countries it affects. So basically, if you're in a country that is got anything to do with the World Health Organization, you will have the Codex slid in along with that. So the real threat, while the esoteric agenda of the media is busy driving fear into the hearts of the world by focusing on terrorism, global warming, salmonella, and food shortages, the real threats are clandestinely becoming a reality. Soon, every single thing you put into your mouth, with the exception of pharmaceuticals, of course, will be highly regulated by Codex Alimentarius, including water. The standards of Codex are a complete affront to the freedom of clean and healthy food, yet these regulations have no legal international standing. Why should we be worried? These soon-to-be mandatory standards will apply to every country who are members of the World Trade Organization. If countries do not follow these standards, then enormous trade sanctions will occur. Some Codex standards that will take effect on December 21st, 2009, and once initiated, are completely irrevocable. And this includes, this is crazy, all nutrients, which include vitamins and minerals, are to be considered toxins, poisons. Let me repeat that. All nutrients are to be considered toxins and are to be removed from all food because Codex prohibits the use of nutrients to prevent, treat, or cure any condition or disease. All food, including organic, is to be irradiated, removing all of the toxic nutrients from the food unless you can eat it local and raw, which they're really trying to stop people doing. Nutrients allowed will be limited to a positive list developed by Codex, which will include such beneficial nutrients like fluoride developed from environmental waste. All other nutrients will be prohibited nationally and internationally to all Codex compliant countries. All nutrients, e.g. CQ10, vitamins A, B, C, D, zinc, magnesium, all nutrients that have any positive health impact on the body will be deemed illegal under Codex and are to be reduced to amounts negligible to humans' health. You will not even be able to obtain these anywhere in the world without a prescription. All advice on nutrition, including written, online, journal articles, or oral advice to a friend, family member, or anyone, will be illegal. This includes naturalnews.com reports on vitamins and minerals and all nutritionalist consultations. That's my job. All dairy cows are to be treated with Monsanto's recombinant bovine growth hormone. All animals used for food are to be treated with potent antibiotics and exogenous growth hormones. The reintroduction of deadly and carcinogenic organic pesticides that in 1991, 176 countries, including the US, have banned worldwide, including 7 of the 12 worst at the Stockholm Convention or persistent organic pesticides, e.g. hexachlorobenzene, toxaphene, and aldrin, will be allowed back into food at elevated levels. Awesome. Dangerous and toxic levels of aflatoxin in milk produced from moldy storage conditions of animal feed will be allowed. I wonder what that does to you. Aflatoxin is the second most potent non-radiation carcinogenic compound known to man. Okay, so it's going to give you cancer. Not that it's actually milk that they put in bottles these days anyway. Mandatory use of growth hormones and antibiotics on all food, herds, fish, and flocks. I think it was, yeah, okay. Worldwide implementation of unlabeled GMOs into crops, animals, fish, and trees. Implementation of unlabeled genetically modified organisms into crops, so that's all your fruits and veggies, all your animals, all your fishes, all your trees, all your fruit. Elevated levels of residue from pesticides and insecticides that are toxic to humans and animals. Some examples of potent, permissible, safe levels of nutrients under Codex include niacin, upper limits of 34 microgram daily. And then they've got here, but the actual effective daily dose is 2,000 to 3,000 micrograms. So that's a big reduction. And that's a daily effective dose. What is this? They've limited it to that. It's not even anywhere near being effective. Vitamin C, upper limits of 65 to 225 microgram daily, where the effective daily dose is actually 6,000 to 10,000. Vitamin D, upper limits of 5 microgram daily, and the effective dose is actually 6,000 to 10,000, like vitamin C. And then vitamin E, upper limits of 15 microgram of alpha-tocirafol only per day, even though alpha-tocirafol by itself has been implicated in cell damage and is toxic to the body. Effective daily doses of mixed tocirafol includes 10,000 to 12,000. Okay, so that's the shocking stuff. I actually pulled another article on a different website that had a little bit of a good summary about what it means, because this is what it means to our daily life. Dietary supplements could not be sold for preventative, prophylactic, or therapeutic use. Potencies would be limited to extremely low dosages. Only the drug companies and the big phytopharmaceutical companies would have the right to produce and sell the higher potency products at inflated prices, probably. Prescriptions would be required for anything above the extremely low doses allowed, such as 35 milligram on niacin, which we just saw. Common foods such as garlic and peppermint would be classified as drugs, or a third category, neither food or drugs, that only big pharmaceutical companies could regulate and sell. Any food with any therapeutic effect can be considered a drug, even benign everyday substances like water. And I don't know if you remember a few years ago, the Nestle guy, whatever his name is, he was really well known for Nestle trying to buy up all of the pure water in the world and saying that water was not a human right, it was a human privilege, meaning that only privileged people should be allowed to have clean water. But he was also around sometime, I think it was back when I was studying, so it must have been maybe 8 years ago or 10 years ago. He was trying to patent fennel, I think it was fennel he was trying to patent, which is, you can see that's the beginning of this kind of shit. Patenting a naturally growing plant, trying to own the rights. Imagine someone owning the rights to garlic, and you can't have garlic without a prescription, and you have to pay someone. Anyway, Codex regulations for dietary supplements would become binding. Escape clauses would be eliminated. All new dietary supplements would be banned unless they go through Codex testing and approval. Genetically altered food would be sold worldwide without labeling. Yeah, so that's what they said in the last one. So if Codex Alimentarius has its way, then herbs, vitamins, minerals, homeopathic remedies, amino acids, and other natural remedies you have taken for granted, most of your life will be gone. The name of the game for the Codex Alimentarius is to shift all remedies into the prescription category so they can be controlled exclusively by the medical monopoly and its bosses, the major pharmaceutical firms. Predictably, this scenario has been denied by both the Canadian Health Food Association and the Health Protection Branch of Canada, HPV. So, you can do some more research on that. Where did I get that article? What's that article called for your... There you go. That one was taken from Codex Alimentarius, the sinister truth behind all Operation Cure All. Taken from an original article by Ruth James. So yeah, it's pretty obvious now that it's happening, especially with the world locked down, and the food supply has been seriously affected, and people's choices have been seriously limited. And yeah, if it continues like this, people will only be able to get food that is deemed safe food by the authorities, and nowhere else will be even open or in business to provide an alternative. And I do remember, I think it was back in 2012, at least in New Zealand, they were trying to pass one of these Agenda 21 laws, and it actually got passed without anyone even knowing, which was that the government now had the rights to come into your home with guns and take your seeds. So that law is done. It's already in there, and they don't really give the public much notice before they pass something like this. They'll just slip it through overnight, and then no one knows about it until it's been enacted, and you can't argue it because it's been law for a long time. So anyway, I'm starting to grow a vegetable garden for the first time in my life, and yeah, that's I guess that would be what we can all encourage each other to do, is just plant food. Plant as much food and as much herbs as you possibly can, and feed it clean, structured water. You can also do like when you're planting seeds, there's what I read in the book Anastasia by the Russian guy, Vladimir, can't remember the last name, amazing book. But she's basically talking about how to be a gardener, and she tells about putting the seeds under your tongue, I think for about 9 minutes, maybe less, and that basically activates the seeds with your DNA. And what that will do is that those seeds or those plants or those food will actually grow according to your needs for rebalancing. And she also tells about that you can collect your dirty bath water and water your plants with that, because it will have the same effect of, reading your toxic output and then correcting the chemical nature of the plant so it can help balance you. And another one was collecting your dead skin cells, like if you do dry skin brushing, and you can sprinkle that all over your plants too. So yeah, I think we just have to get more proactive on the stuff. If you've got a garden, if you've got a bit of sunshine in a pot, in a windowsill, or you can do those ones where you can actually attach things to the wall and like make a hanging wall garden, and then everyone in your neighborhood grows something different, and then you all share. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this terrible news.